Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got him picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back.
We are honored to have actor and activist, Mr. Danny Glover.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
We're going to get right down to it. I would like to know what inspired you to become an activist?
Well, and I'm glad you used the word activist, and what inspired me to become an activist is separate from what inspired me to become an actor. I'm a child of the civil rights movement. The images I remember from the civil rights movement, the stories I remember from the civil rights movement, the people who I first were anointed for me were men and women of the civil rights movement. I wanted to be like those people. Those were my heroes. Those were my first heroes. So as a young man growing up, I happened to grow up at a time that kind of flowed into the civil rights movement, and that was the Black Power movement. I was a student at San Francisco State College in the late 60s, and there was an enormous dialogue that was going on among around the issues around the community, our relationship to the community. There's enormous dialogue going on around the Vietnam War. There was a dialogue going around what the college, university should represent, who it should represent, whose interests should represent. We were students who were at a working class college, and we wanted to have something to say. So that formed the basis of my own activism. And then the other part of it, as I continue in life, I'm a grandfather, a father, and I'm a citizen. So the work that we do as citizens makes us activists.
I'd like to know, as in a society where it seems as though young people are so involved in sports and entertainment, what about those young people that would like to be involved?
Well, one of the things is that sometimes I think young people are misrepresented in a lot of ways in terms of their ambition. Granted that popular culture, the culture that often influences them and often is created by them for the most part, and often it's created and then subverted. The creation is subverted into something else. The young people are engaged in a way, in ways that we don't imagine. We think of them in terms of hip hop, and we think of hip hop as something that is the antithesis of activism. And yet it is activism. It started out as activism. It started out as young people's voice. If you go anywhere in the world, you hear hip hop right today. I don't care if you go to Japan. I don't care if you go to Timbuktu, where I was, where some young artists were singing hip hop to me. Young kids were singing hip hop to me, rhythms in Arabic, Or if you go to Brazil, then young people have their own statement and their own voice within this particular culture. It's not their fault that this culture, the culture that they have developed and the culture in which they have evolved in has been one almost purely of consumption. How much money can someone? And often the kings and queens of the industry don't sing about the real things. Don't sing about what really is on young people's mind. You have spoken word artists that follow in the tradition of great poets like
bumping our heads against brick walls, stumbling around in the dark. So dark I'm blinded and cannot see. I can't see the mother praying, the father who's not straying, the teacher teaching. the preacher preaching. I can't see the children playing dodgeball, dodging after school drugs, alcohol, and bullets, choosing college for knowledge over prison for violence. I can't see the neighbor caring, the community leader daring to step out. Somebody turned off the lights and I can't see in the dark.
You're involved in Trans Africa. What exactly is, can you explain what exactly is trans? For those of in our audience who don't know, what exactly is Trans Africa?
Trans Africa Forum is an organization, an institution, which began 30 years ago in the struggle to end apartheid. It is shaped into an organization, which is an outgrowth of many organizations from the past. There's the Council on African Affairs, which was begun by W.B. Du Bois and others, along with Paul Robeson in 1939. So Trans-Africa is an ongoing, is a dialogue or a manifestation of many movements which have attempted to provide a policy forum, a place where African Americans, people here in the belly of the beast, could talk about U.S. foreign policy in relationship to Africa and the diaspora. So we have all these African descendants here. And so Trans-Africa is a forum, is an institution which creates and stimulates dialogue about policy. What we got to do is those who have come before and who've had their moment, as Paul Robeson once said, that each generation has its own voice and has to take its own stand to represent itself. We have to create the environment for them to do that. There are young people who are talking about the issues around violence and youth culture and violence in our community. There's young people who are involved in groups like Barrios Unidos, Latino brothers who are working to stop the violence in their community. There's young people involved in Unity One, African Americans in South Central who are talking about maintaining the peace in their community. We don't hear those things. That's not the energy, and that's not in the public dialogue. I was in Brazil a couple of years ago, and the president of Brazil was presenting an award to the best message, artistic message from young people against, in the fight against AIDS. All four or five of the contestants, the finalists, they did whatever they did. Their artistic rendering was in hip hop.
Getting one penny of my money, not one thin dime.
Did I ever ask you for anything? Did I ever ask you for anything? I never asked you for nothing, not even your sorry ass hand in marriage. Nothing. I never asked you for nothing. Oh, Sophia home now. Sophia home. Things gonna be changing around here too.
I'm going with Suge.
You going where?
I'm going with Miss Celie and Suge. Because I'm fixing to sing.
Too much racket going on around in this house. Pass me them peas, yeah? Now listen, Squeak.
Oh, my name ain't Squeak.
What?
My name is Mary Agnes.
Mary what?
Mary Agnes.
Mary
I thought it
Agnes.
was you. Me
Miss
too.
Mary, who gives a damn? Boy, if you gonna let this little nappy-head gal sit here and cuss you out like that, you sitting at the head of your own dinner table and you acting like a waiter.
Hush, you old fool. Always meddling in somebody's business. Sophia home now. Just hush up.
She'll be back. She'll got talent. She can sing. She got spunk. She can talk to anybody. She can stand up and be noticed. But what you got? You're ugly, you're skinny, you're shaped funny, and you're too scared to open your mouth to people. All you fit to do is be Suge's maid. Take out a slop jar and maybe cook her food. And you ain't even that good of a cook anyway. Well, she's a lot better than that first wife you married. And this house ain't been clean good since my first wife died. And nobody crazy enough to marry you. So what you gonna do? Hire yourself to farm? Or maybe somebody let you work on that railroad.
Make me sweep out the caboose.
Any more letters come?
Could be. Could be not. Who's to say?
Celie, no! I promise you. Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
Don't do it, Miss Celie. Don't trade places with what I've been through.
Come on, Miss Celie. Let's go to the car.
He ain't worth it. He ain't worth it.
Who you think you is? You can't cuss nobody. Look at you. You're black, you're poor, you're ugly, you're a woman, you're nothing at all.
Till you do right by me, everything you even think about gonna fail.
Hey, Benny. Yeah. Come on up here and show them like we used to do it, baby. All right.